If you can always put the clients first and get them to their goal, then you'll win in the end.
Hello, welcome to episode 148 of the Smart Agents Podcast. As always, my name is Michael Walter, and I'll be your host. In today's episode, we are joined by Adam Lesperance, broker and team lead with the Terri Hastings Real Estate Group based in the Grey Bruce region of Ontario. Jumping into real estate in 2020, after many years of owning his own tree removal business, Adam found immediate success holding the #1 spot for team sales in both 2020 and 2021, all while co-leading the team to becoming one of the top 4 producing real estate groups in Canada. Throughout our conversation, Adam shares how he found such immediate success in the industry, the uniqueness of listing the one-of-a-kind homes in his market, and touches on the impact hiring a coach made on his business. But before we get on to today's featured interview, make sure to subscribe to the Smart Agents Podcast. You can find the show on all major podcasting platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and now Amazon Music. Also, if you or someone else on your team has an incredible story or real estate tips to share with our community, send us a message at feedback@smartagents.com. We're always on the lookout for new stories to share. All right, let's get on to today's featured interview with Adam Lesperance. I really enjoyed our conversation, and I hope you do as well. The way I like to start everything out is if you could just introduce yourself to us a little bit, who you are and where you're at in the world. You're not even in the United States.
No, my name is Adam Lesperance, and I am a real estate broker up with the Terri Hastings Group with Keller Williams, and we're located up on the Bruce Peninsula, which is in Ontario, about 2.5 hours north of Toronto, and we have an office in Wyerton, Tobermory, Port Elgin, and Owen Sound. So we are, very much a tourist area up here with the Great Lakes. Lake Huron, of course, you'd be familiar with, and then Georgian Bay over on the other side.
Right. What was it that originally got you into real estate?
Yeah. So for me, I always, since I was young, I don't know why, I always wanted to do real estate, but I also feel like it's something that really helps with life experience. So throughout years ago, worked with the government. I grew up on a farm. My wife and I started a business where we had lamblicious, so we sold lamb products and different things. And then I had a tree removal business for 14 years. And we found we just had too much going on. So wanted to focus on one thing. We decided that was, at that time, real estate. And we'd flip properties and built a house and different things. So sort of had a well-rounded grasp on it, which I feel I can help clients now a lot better because of that past experience. And so I got licensed January of 2020. We sold the other 2 businesses, had no other income, and just jumped into it. And yeah, it went well. So.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, just from, the notes that, I got, went well is kind of an understatement for your real estate career. Tell us a little bit about, breaking into real estate and the success that you found.
Yeah. So the first year, I mean, it was, I think, it was a year of learning, definitely, with all the paperwork and everything. I did have the ability to have enough connections throughout the community, always being in the area and having the other businesses, which I built a lot of trust with those businesses. And then I think it's really the first year I did well, there's no question there. But the second year, really, all of a sudden I was, the first in sales for a group of 10 realtors. And many of those realtors were experienced, and got promoted to the team lead on the team that we have here, the Terri Hastings Group. And recently now my wife and I are co-owners of that group. So we're working towards purchasing that group. We have a group of 10 realtors. We do the most sales of all the teams in our area. And I think last year we were just under 400 transactions, to give you an idea of ends. And then we're Keller Williams #4 in Canada as far as groups go. And our population here is not very big. We're in a very spread out rural community. We're sort of half an hour between towns, to give you an idea. So.
Right. So when you said the first year was obviously that year of learning and kind of getting, just all your traction kind of built up through, the processes. But you mentioned having a good foundation of people that knew you in the community. Was that something that you really leaned on when you got into real estate and started, getting those leads and getting those clients?
Yeah, I think so. I think two parts, like joining a group and having people within the office that had done it, because I would be there, I'd be like, what do I do? I have an offer I have to write or whatever it is. I have a listing. So they'd help me every step of the way. They'd take their time and give back, which was awesome to be part of a team like that. And now I'm able to sort of push that forward to help the new agents on the team. And then as far as having the connections to locals in the area, and I had about 700 names of clients through the tree business. So I called them all and said, I've sold the business to a guy that used to work for me, and I'm doing this now. Here's his number, and just letting you know that. So, I mean, did that convert many directly from the old business? Probably not a whole lot, but it certainly, I'm sure, word of mouth and different things got out there that this is what I was doing now, right? So,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a great free way to kind of advertise your change of business there.
oh yeah, of course, of course.
Yeah. So what as things started to kind of gain traction and snowball for you, what were you doing to market yourself and your business for the real estate?
Yeah. So as far as marketing, I did start to put up like large signage, like 4x8 signs and different things. I don't have any that are that expensive. And what I mean by that, you can go to like, there's a few businesses that will rent a farmer's field and you pay like $3,000 for their sign. But I found it easier just to go to that farmer that I know and say, can I throw a sign in your cornfield and I'll pay you X amount. I mean, it's money to them that they didn't have before, but it's not what those businesses are charging. And it was a different way to connect to people because then the locals know that's what I'm doing. Like it was a form of prospecting in a way, talking to those different farmers and different people, right? And then sticking it right in the area where I grew up, so everybody around knows that this is what I'm doing now. So
Yeah, no, I really like that idea of going to, the landowner there specifically, not trying to find, where we're at. We have the billboards that are on the side of the road, and those are very expensive to rent out and things. But I like the idea of putting the sign right there on the property.
yeah, yeah, because they sure are expensive, and we have other signs on random places, right? So which are a little more reasonable. So and
Yeah.
then the other thing, like the second year, I did end up getting a coach, and I know my wife and I were like, "Oh my gosh, it's $12,000 for the year. Can we afford this?" And back and forth, and finally decided to do it. And then we reset the goal with this coach three times in that year, and I kept asking her the question. I said, "How do I turn my phone on like I had with the tree removal business?" And she kept saying to me, it's different, this business. You have to lead generate, you have to go out, call the people, they don't call you. Whereas the other business I had the ability that I couldn't keep up. I mean, I would book, and you just never keep up. You could never have enough staff or tools to keep up with the business. Real estate is a lot different in the way that you have to lead generate. So you have to go out there and sort of keep your ears open if you hear somebody that's going through a life event or something. Crazy spots where I've, at the boat dock, I remember one time I was talking to some random guy about something. I don't know how it turned into his house was on Kijiji, and I was out there the next week listing it for him. So like, just you got to sort of connect and talk to people and just keep the conversation going, but never, jumping first in to be like, I'm a realtor, how can I help you? It's sort of, you just get to know them first, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. I know. I think it's kind of that passive lead generation. You always have to be ready for the conversation, but don't, go into it full force.
yeah, yeah. And I think part of that too is the ability to never put yourself first. Like you're not in this for yourself. If you can always put the clients first and get them to their goal, then you'll win in the end. But if you put yourself first and try to get you to your own goals, which is X amount of sales or whatever, you'll sort of get lost. And I feel like you may fail because you're not helping the actual people that you're there for. Countless times I've gone into listing presentations and different things and convinced people not to sell their home because we do all the math and everything. Well, it doesn't make any sense, right? fix up your basement, rent it out, stay where you are, because to sell it, you're just going to get yourself into a rental situation, and it's not going to help them in their future. So why would you suggest that for your own benefit, right? So
Right, absolutely. And I think by having that approach, maybe you didn't get that transaction on that particular home in that instance, but by showing that goodwill and showing your desire to help their long-term future, you obviously gained somebody that is very much going to refer you out to their friends and family. And then when the time does come for them to go ahead and pull the trigger and sell that property, they're definitely going to be calling you.
oh yeah, no, it's so true, because their little network and everything, and a lot of stuff's coming from them. And if they're in a position where they're like, okay, we're ready to sell, or we know we need to sell, like those are the easiest listings to get. They literally call you and say, come take a look at your house, we're going to list it, and you have the
Right.
listing, right? So because you already built that trust. So yeah.
Right, absolutely. How important do you think it was to your career in real estate to hire that coach?
I think, in hindsight, throughout my entire life, I really feel like having a coach is probably a huge benefit. Like we sort of, with the previous businesses, we'd talk to different people and stuff, but not sort of like a paid coach. But with coaching, um, I think what I've realized, it's not a coach telling you what to do. It's a coach asking you the right questions so you can get to your own answer. And a lot of times when you're so involved and centered in what you're doing, you're not seeing the big picture, the outside looking in. Like that's easier to do if you're looking at someone else for sure. And you're like, well, why are you doing that? That's a crazy situation you've got yourself into. But they're not seeing it because they're so centered. So for a coach or somebody to come in and be like, well, why aren't you doing this? Or what does it look like if you do that? Definitely a huge benefit. And if I could jump in my time machine, I'd go back and certainly have more coaches, and probably be a lot further than I am now. Right. So,
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the market that you serve, because like you said, it's a lot of, tourist area. The towns are spread out a bit. So tell me a little bit about what makes your market so unique.
yeah. So we have like large geographically municipalities in the area. But to give you an example, like South Bruce Peninsula, where I am today, there's about 7,000 people. Across the highway in Georgian Bluffs, there's about 8,000 people. Northern Bruce has about 3,000. And then, probably all, including Owen Sound, Port Elgin, there's probably about 70,000 people in the area that we serve.
Mhm.
And it's very much small towns like Wyerton, Tobermory, Sauble Beach. All these towns are on the water as well as Owen Sound.
Mhm.
And about 80 to 90% of the people we're seeing that are buying cottage properties, because we are a heavy recreational area, are from city centers. So you think of Toronto, Kitchener, Waterloo, like down, 3 hour drive. We do have a lot of people from Michigan, from the States.
Mhm.
They can come across on Detroit or Sarnia, like closer areas there, right? So serving Americans that buy cottage properties here as well, and then dealing with waterfronts, but a lot of very diverse waterfronts. And then because we're sort of smaller areas, there's not a lot of like suburbs or houses that are the same. So in our area, it's very hard to price places in the way it's not like there's 10 houses that sit beside each other that all look the same. You're sort of 10 different places on different size lots that were built in different times. So it's very unique in that regard, right? And, it's a very safe spot to be. Our crime rates and things are certainly not very high because of, we're just in the middle of nowhere to a lot of people, right? So,
Right, absolutely. So you mentioned that the actual pricing of the properties can be a little bit more difficult because you're not able to pull, the comps of the 10 places that have sold down the street,
oh,
the
yeah,
same
yeah.
cookie stutter style. So when you are in that listing presentation and going through those appointments with the sellers, what are you doing to come up with your price point that, is going to kind of fit their, I guess, like desires really?
Yeah, yeah. So unless I've been to the house before, I know it from somewhere else. Usually I'll go there like a two-part. So the first time I'll go just to really look at the property, and then I'll straight up tell the people I'm going to look at comps, and they're going to say, "Well, there's nothing comparable to this." but I'll, sort of explain it as similar properties. And what I really want to find for you, Mr. Seller, is something that I can balance on each hand of another property and your property that, 5 out of 5, 10 people might choose one of the other properties. So just find that balance, right?
Mhm.
And then try to find the price in that regard. But it can be very difficult, and sometimes you won't get a listing because somebody prices it a lot higher and it sells for that. And you're like, well, I didn't expect that to happen, or vice versa, right? It's really, really difficult in ways. Like our average price point here is 650,000. But I mean, there was a house on the board this morning that sold for 173,000, and another one that sold for 2 million. So I mean, they're just all
Right.
in between those numbers, right? So yeah.
Right. Absolutely. How, when you are, once you've gotten one of those listings and you are marketing it out to potential buyers, how much of the marketing is the lifestyle that that property will provide, and not just simply, the features of the home?
Yeah. I think a lot of it is the lifestyle, and I think a lot of us learned with COVID. Like we seen a 40% gain here in our area, so one of the biggest gains as far as price points because of the people moving up to the area from city centers to work up in these areas. Um, so waterfront is a great example. What are you looking to do with your waterfront? Because there's a lot of different waterfront. You can't necessarily put a big boat in all of it. You might be limited to canoes or kayaks or paddle boards. Some of it's just too rough. So if you could put a big boat out there, that's great, but it's not going to be there next week. It's going to get smashed up against the shore, right? So really trying to help educate people. And then the Georgian Bay side is the sunset side or the sunrise side, and the Huron side is the sunset side. So sort of, are you going to be up at night watching sunsets? Are you an early riser? Does that matter to you? Like you have to weigh all these things in for the people. And are you okay with a 30-minute drive for groceries, or do you want it within walking distance? Because that can change a whole lot, and there's not many spots within walking distance around here, right? So,
Right. Absolutely. I mean, that's got to make it, you know, just having each property being so unique, it's got to keep it from getting, mundane and, every property kind of being the same. It's got to be enjoyable to go see all those different properties and the different lifestyles and just having so much variety in it.
oh, it sure is, yeah. And with I mean, the tree removal business, I thought I was down every road and seen every nook and cranny. The odd time you'll get a call and you're like, on what street? And then you end up some dead end goat's path and some private lane with like five miraculous places on the water you didn't even know existed, right? So
Yeah.
it's pretty neat in that regard. Always discovering, even though I grew up here my entire life, right? So
Right, absolutely. So for these properties that you are, selling, and you talked about a lot of people from the cities, coming and getting these cottages. Where do you focus your marketing for these properties? What are you doing to kind of broadcast these out?
yeah, so some things that we do, like Toronto has Cottage Life magazine, so they do a home and cottage show. So we go that into the fall and the spring. We showcase the listings we have, but of course the area that we have, and we're competing against the Muskokas and different other tourist areas around. But we really have some very scenic stuff up here. So we put that all up on the board. And then the other thing that we're doing is targeting ads through Facebook, so we can pick geographic regions. So when we pay for ads, we're actually picking, Toronto and different areas. If we have a listing over, Meaford Way, because there's a bigger draw there. If we're up on the peninsula, we'll probably target Toronto as well, but maybe more to Kitchener, London, Waterloo areas. And then doing YouTube ads. But if we have $1 million listing, we're not cutting the budget on the ads. Like we're spending money to promote these listings, right? So you can, yeah, just throw them up on MLS and hope for the best, but we're really trying to sell their product and make sure that everyone sees it, right? So doing videos as well. And then we have all the offices where we're listing and doing the displays on the windows and all the different things too, right? So,
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of moving towards you talked about becoming the team lead, and then now you're in the process of purchasing the team. What was it that made you want to go in that direction to bring on the responsibility of having these agents and people underneath you again?
yeah, I think I think it's probably just learning through life experience. Like one of the odd things is I sold the tree business because I couldn't get enough staff. And I love staff, when they show up, but it was just so hard to manage. I thought, well, real estate's something also I can do without any staff. And then all of a sudden we're, 3 months into it. And what do? We go out and hire a girl to help look after the kids just so it's easier to coordinate things, and then hired an admin. And then all of a sudden we have, 6 staff again, I think right now. So it's,
Right.
but leverage and I think the ability to sort of give back and help teach people that they can reach their goals with real estate and
Mhm.
different things is sort of a nice thing to do.
Yeah.
So, I think it's maybe more of a big picture thing, but just trying to enjoy the ride of life more, and it's a big thing. I mean, to be able to leverage with the team and stuff that we have, and maybe get to the point where not necessarily in the office every day and stuff, and I can be going out doing other things which probably involve work, but maybe just different avenues of real estate investing and different things. So,
Right. Absolutely. Through your time when you found the brokers that you're working for and that you joined and the team that you joined, and obviously having the coach, is that helped shape the way that you are training new agents coming on?
yeah, I think so. With Keller Williams, they're definitely world renowned, known for training and mindset, and it's I think a huge thing. Like when COVID and everything happened, I realized I was sleeping until 8 or 9 in the morning, and typically I got up fairly early. And then on one day I just sort of flipped the switch and thought, I think probably I read a book or something, but so now I get up at 5 and meditate and journal and read and do all those things that you should be doing every day. Go out to the gym and just get a good start to the day. So you know, I think going back to what you had asked, but it all sort of comes together to be just a more positive mindset and sort of
Mhm.
enjoy things and yeah, just be happy, right? So,
Yeah, absolutely. No, I definitely saw, um, during the school year for our kids, they just got out of school about a week or so ago from the time that we're recording this. And, prior to them, still being in school, they're up early, they're, everything's going, and they just seem to have this energy that kind of carries them through the day. But then if you let them kind of sleep in and wake up on their own terms, it takes a while to get things kick started.
oh yeah, that's so true. Like not that I sleep in often anymore, but if I do, I'll wake up and I'll be like, oh my, and it feels like the whole day you're just behind a treadmill. You could never catch up, and then the day's over, and then you have a big list to do the next day because you never got everything done. So if you can get the head start on the day and just keep doing things as they come in and not letting them pile up too much, it makes you feel a lot better and keeps the momentum going for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So going forward, we're halfway through the year here at the, as we're recording this. What does the rest of the year look like for you and your team?
Yeah, I think it looks good. Like we had a really slow start to the year, so the winter time and the early spring was very slow, but we have been the last 2 or 3 weeks certainly been seeing an uptick of the market. Things are talking to realtors down in the GTA and the city centers, they're really picking up in those areas now, and we're typically approximately a month behind them. It doesn't take a lot of people down there to sell to want to move up here because their density is so low to start to see some stuff moving, and we are definitely seeing that. So that's certainly a good sign. Yeah.
Yeah.
Our interest rates here have held the last two announcements, and I know down there they're a lot higher what they've
Right.
gone up. So I mean that's helping put a little optimism in the market as well, right? So,
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I think obviously your the market and just the geography that you live in and the places that you serve, um, it's got to be hard to find a better place to be selling real estate.
oh yeah, it's sort of a neat spot up here, right, with all the beaches and all the cool things we have for sure. So
Yeah.
there's the odd time you'll sell an island property or something, and the ability to take people out on the boat and sort of you always book a little extra time, take them for a tour, and hope it's a nice day, right? So yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, that definitely beats sitting in the office and driving around the 17th place that looks the same and the shotgun houses.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Well, I do really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today and kind of and share your story of how you got in. And obviously, just in the short amount of time you've been in real estate, the success that you're having.
Yeah, well, thank you, and thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
I want to thank Adam for taking the time to speak with us today. His success has been incredible, and the market he calls home sounds amazing. So once again, if you think you or someone else on your team has an incredible story or real estate tips to share with our community, send us a message to feedback@smartagents.com. Well, that wraps things up for this episode, but remember, follow the show wherever you listen to podcasts and make sure to subscribe to the Smart Agents YouTube channel. Again, I'm Michael Walter, and we'll see you on the next episode.